What's going on, guys? How you doing? In today's video, we are doing the final part of this 1992 Neil Peart drum clinic. This is part 5. This is for Lucinda, Ray, and Jesse. If you're new here, please subscribe. Check out my videos, all kinds of videos, reaction videos, bass videos, music videos. Check it out. If you like the channel, if you want to support the channel, you can hit super thanks underneath this video. You can hit me direct in the description. I got PayPal, Venmo, Amazon wishlist, mailing address. Check it out. And now we're doing these donation request videos. If there's something that you want me to react to, something you want me to watch, topic you want me to talk about, a question, something you want me to make a video on, hit me direct, PayPal, Venmo, and in the notes section, let me know what you want. Leave a description, leave a link, and I'll make the video. Awesome. Okay, cool. Part 5. This has been really cool. Awesome questions, interview kind of stuff, people asking him questions, him talking, him playing through songs, playing through his drum solo, going over sounds and triggers and samples and things like that. That's been really, really awesome. The videography moving around in the last video was not really awesome. That was super rough for me. I had to stop. I was like, I can't. That was so bad. So hopefully it's better on this one. I don't know though. It may not be. So we'll see what it is. Let's check this out. Bam.
Long, complicated drum part, or for us, over 2 hours of a live show. There isn't. So it's a subverbal language. You just learn like another language, and it comes together over time.
So it's not a mental,
It's absolutely mental, but all mental thinking, I think, is dimensional. I was reading something, Carl Jung or somebody recently, about three-dimensional thoughts, how you picture things in 3 dimensions, and that's why your brain can hold so much, because it's not 2-dimensional, it's 3-dimensional. So when the symbolic language and hieroglyphics that bring a drum pattern together, or help you memorize a poem, or for a reporter to remember the facts at the scene of the crime or whatever, there's a dimensional hierarchy of things that trigger each other. A friend of mine has a theory that you can only have 6 things in your brain at a time, and I happen to think that's true. In the forefront of your brain there can only be a handful of things, but each of them can trigger back like a computer does. You can go back in HyperCard, one thing triggers another bank of knowledge, triggers another one, so you can go deeper into the dimensional memory that way.
Subconscious difference, or?
For anyone who's read Carl Jung, I would put it in the unconscious realm that's readily available to the conscious mind. Get out of here. Yeah.
Since you started going out on the road fresh, touring a month, it's been hard to upkeep your level of technique. There's been a problem with not having enough time to practice.
Well, I think beyond a certain level, I mean, for me, 25 years down the line, playing is the best practice, and I play over 2 hours in the show plus sound check, so nearly 3 hours a day. I have a little practice kit in the dressing room that I've been using lately, just to play around with new ideas and that stuff. So to the contrary, I think I play in front of an audience. You're going to play at an extreme level that you would never do in a practice room, because it hurts.
Crazy.
If I'm rehearsing or practicing, I'll go till it hurts and then I'll stop. But in front of an audience, you can't. If it starts to hurt, or if you get a cramp, or if you cut your finger, or any of those things, your willpower has to take you beyond those things, and discipline demands it. So I play at a much greater level live, and in fact, that's why I rehearse. When I'm rehearsing for a tour, I play to the records, because that's me at a superhuman level. That's better than I can really play. So if I try to rehearse to that level, it drives me to the level that I'll need for a live performance. But you feel the expectation from an audience that even if you don't feel well, even if something hurts, even if you're not having a great night, you have to push it out. It's just like a responsibility, I think, that you just feel night after night.
Getting back to what she asked about, how you remembered how to do everything. You said in your last Modern Drummer article that you were finally confident in your playing.
I'm sorry?
You said in your last Modern Drummer article that you were finally confident in your playing. My question is, when you play, when you're using rhythms or paradiddles, whatever, are you still thinking paradiddle, or
no? It gets into that language thing I was talking about before, that I just know what button to push that'll take me to the thing I need to get to. And same with counting. I almost never need to count anymore, because it becomes a cycle, and as we discussed, one thing sets up the next thing, so I'm constantly aware of where I am within the arrangement of the song, and what's coming. I've talked again with other drummers about this, and you can't be thinking about what you're playing right now. I think anyone would agree with that. It's a fundamental thing that if you're thinking about what you're playing right now, then you're going to fall apart in the next phrase, you know? So for me, I'm playing where I am, and I'm at least probably 4 bars ahead in my brain, setting myself up physically, again with a wide kit where your fulcrum and your point of balance is changing. It's most important to be rooted, and if I change from being in the hi-hat to the ride cymbal, I have to set up my shift of balance. If I come over to these pads or over to the marimba, I'm way out of balance, so I have to set myself up a long time in advance to get to those things. So there's a train of thought, I would say, that's probably about 20 to 30 seconds ahead of where I am. So you have to have the confidence of what you're doing right now. You thought about that 30 seconds ago, so it's going to be okay, and be thinking ahead to the next transition, to the next change, especially when you get down to small points of tempo, when you want smoothness in and out of a fill, and when you're dealing with sequencers or playing to a click or something. Not only is it desirable, it's absolutely necessary that you have that smoothness, and so therefore it's necessary to set yourself up so far in advance. I just want to check out where your time is.
Yeah, if you start thinking about what you're doing, you're not in the zone anymore. Oh my God, these airplanes are crazy.
Yeah, go ahead.
In a song like Big Money, with very intensive patterns, how much change do you go from inception of the song to the final product?
A lot, actually, and the second one I did today, Bravado, was an example of that, where I seem to have found a pattern for myself anyways, that it takes 3 days of solid work to develop a set of lyrics, to develop a drum pattern, because you have to re-examine what you've done all the time, and it's necessary to get away from it and come back. And when I was rehearsing for the album this time, I had a couple of weeks just for myself, so I had a work tape, and I'd spend a couple of hours on each song, and then I'd know I'd done as much as I could, and I'd go on to another song. The next day, go through the cycle again, and every time I'd find a new detail or a new bit of, or if I could punch up the rhythm of the vocals, or little things like that that make it so satisfying, or a new rhythmic approach to something. But some of them are really hard. If you're trying to stay out of a cliche, some songs just drive me crazy, and day after day I'll think I'm getting nowhere with this, it doesn't feel good, I don't like playing it, there's something wrong with the song, you know. But by the third day, something comes together, and I find the same with lyrics. I'll sit there for 2 days in front of lyrics going, this is awful, I hate it, why don't I just burn it and go home? But by the third day, all of that starts to come together, and I go, oh yeah. And same with the drum part too. I'll sit there and slave over it, thinking so depressed and so down on myself, and then finally the key, or finally just the confidence comes, and I play it all together and go, yeah. So in answer to that, it bit by bit it comes together. I start out with possibilities. Pardon? I'll play to a demo tape of it, and I usually like to work without the other guys, because again, I mentioned before, I don't like being the drum machine for them, and I don't like the feeling that they're slaving for me. So I get them to make me a work tape of the song just to a drum machine or something, and then as I play along with it, I try all the possibilities. Because again, I think I've written about this before, 2 ways to approach learning a song. Start from the minimalist point of view of the very smallest possible thing you can do, or the maximalist. The first time through, I'll play everything that can possibly fit in that rhythm. I'll try everything, and it'll sound chaotic, but I'll gradually eliminate. Okay, this works, but doesn't really do anything, so I'll throw that out. This works, and it can take me somewhere, and I can multiply it or subtract from it and all this. For me, I start with everything and then subtract. Some drummers would start with one beat and then add to it slowly. Whatever works for you, I would say.
My God, it's out of control.
How did you get inspired to write lyrics? What? I always judge by most recent work, so to me the whole Roll the Bones album represents me today and what I think, you know. So I don't know about that. They're doing it on purpose.
Honestly, that is like out of control. That's not just John Wayne, that's like Cam Hamilton or something. That's like some military thing.
Yeah, it's a good point, and one thing that I really was careful of with this album, that I wanted to be very precisely arranged in all the drum parts and work them out, but spontaneity is important too, and I learned to trick myself into being spontaneous, and that a song like Bravado or Roll the Bones, I worked out pretty well the whole song. And I would always leave a part that I wouldn't let myself work out. And every time I came to it, I would make my mind go blank, and whatever happened, happened. Because there is a special edge to something that's never been played before, that way or whatever. So when I come into the studio, do you know what this is costing the American taxpayers? So yeah, I would go into the studio knowing the song really well, so I'd be able to get a good performance of it rapidly, but at the same time I was at such a pitch of concentration and excitement that when I came to the improvised parts, the spontaneous parts that had never been done that way, they would come out accurate, but there would be an extra edge to them, just something, you would never get, no other listener would ever pick it up but me, but I think there's an intangible excitement that it adds to it. It can never be over-rehearsed that way. It can never be too pat and, you know, too precise, because this part of the song, this transition, this drum fill never happened that way before. So I think you can have both. I think you can work it out so that you know that drum part so well that you can record it in a snap really well, and at the same time go for something extra special that's never happened before. So I think I better take two more questions. There's a bunch of guys that have work to do up here, so I'll take two more, yeah.
I was wondering, you did a collaboration with a band called Max Webster.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you'd done anything else besides, I think this tune was called Battle Scars.
Right, yeah, a lot of little things along the way, mostly on a friendly basis though. We are so satisfied by what we get to do. Every style of drumming I like to play, I get to play. I did a thing a month ago just doing hand drums with a band that I'm friends with in Toronto, and just came in and did some bongos and did some cowbells and tambourine and that kind of stuff. But it's basically just to work with friends rather than a musical compulsion. None of us needs a solo album because every record is each of our solo albums, really. So, and each of us have done those kind of things with helping out a band or working with friends or something like that, but very informally and on a very small scale mostly.
Don't have much time either.
Yeah, exactly so. Yeah, we've been on tour for 8 months now, and we're in the studio for 6 months before that, so we're pretty busy just on this thing. Hey, one last one. Where haven't I been yet? Yeah, down here.
What sort of education have you had as far as drums, everything, lyrical?
Drumming, I had an excellent teacher that started me off, and I think that's the irreplaceable magic touch. I went in, he quit teaching after about 18 months, but in that 18 months he gave me the best grounding of the directions that I needed to go. He gave me a great set of values of what a good drummer should be able to do and how high you should aim in terms of perfection and technique. I think in my first drum lesson he played me the drum battle, the famous Buddy Rich Gene Krupa one. He said, right, here's where we're going, and then he picked up the sticks and showed me how to hold them and says, here's how we're going to get there. But most importantly, after about 6 or 8 months, he gave me the piece of encouragement that I needed. You know, I've been working on all this stuff and learning how to read, learning my rudiments and all the stuff that you need to start with. But at about the 6-month point, he told me that if I worked at it, I would be a drummer. And it was like, that's all I needed to hear. You know, I'd never found anything up to that time. I'd never been good in sports or anything else particularly. So that was like the spark. And then when he quit teaching, I tried a few other teachers, and the magic wasn't there. So I went to the radio and I went to other drummers on record and just started learning that way, or going to see people. And self-taught in a sense, but there's a beautiful quote that the man who says he's self-taught has been taught by a fool, because you don't learn from yourself. You learn from other drummers, you know, and you learn from music. And I happened to think at the time the best way to learn was playing along with the radio, because I had no choice. It wasn't like a lot of people put on their favorite record and drum along with it. I think that's kind of limiting. I would put on Top 40 radio and I would have to play to every song that came on, however stupid it was, however much I hated it, however lame the drum part was. But I learned a flexibility and a tolerance for different styles, and I think an adaptability too, just from a little plastic AM radio. So those are kind of things that are special. In formal education, the same sort of thing happened. As soon as I found these things, nothing else existed. So I got out of school, but then went on to become self-taught through, you know, doing a lot of reading and making friends who were educated in different areas and learning from them and so on. So yeah, no, that's purely a joke. Open eyes and open ears, I think, is the best schoolroom. I'm going to have to let these guys get to work. Thanks a lot for coming out. I hope you got something out of it. See you again.
there's more. I don't know what it is though. Oh, he's going around to the drums. Like more close up of the kit. They really just had like those fuzzy dye just all around the kit. That was the World of Bonds look. Okay, alright. That's the video. Really cool stuff. Yeah, I mean, to me in this video, that earlier point where, you know, what you're thinking about when you're performing, and if you have a thought, if you're thinking about what you're playing, you're not in the zone anymore. You're going to, whenever I make a mistake on the stage or at any point or whatever, it's because I'm thinking. It's because it has to do with what's in my brain, what I'm thinking. Always. Pretty much always. Sometimes there may be like a technical thing or whatever, like who knows, like, especially if it's like a different instrument. Like when I first got the Hofner bass, that has a very different setup and feel to it than my Fenders. So I would have all kinds of technical issues. Like I would miss a string. I would be going after a string and miss it because how it's set up is different, you know, and that kind of thing takes time just to play the instrument, just time on the instrument to get comfortable, know where everything is so that you're not making those kinds of errors. Anyways, but in terms of just playing, yeah, you can't be thinking. You know, you're not thinking about, you're not counting, you're not thinking about this, that, and the other thing. All that has to be worked out ahead of time. And then when you're doing it on the stage, when you're actually performing, you're just going. You know, you're reacting to different things like that's happening on the stage or that's happening in the audience or whatever. If you're focusing on the music and things within the music like counting or reading music, you're not able to improvise or perform at some other level than just like, I'm just reading through this. You know, when you're doing like reading gigs, that's a different kind of gig. That's a different kind of gig. Like if you're playing in a pit or an orchestra or whatever, a musical, you know, kind of thing usually, you know, it's just different. It's a different type of performance, right? That's why, yeah, I don't want to have, for what I do, I don't want to have music in front of me. Like, nobody is coming out to see what I'm doing. People have music in front of them or lyrics in front of them or any of that kind of thing. It's just not, it's not the look. It's not, Anyways, so I get what he's talking about with that, and that's a great point. Anyways, this was a really cool, really long drum clinic. Lots of really good stuff within it. So hopefully you guys caught a bunch of this, and I was able to elaborate on some things, you know, and it was cool. So thank you to Lucinda, Ray, and Jesse for requesting this, hitting me with PayPal and requesting this. I'll catch you guys later.